answer what's going on. And as a good mock trial teacher, I've decided to bring evidence tonight, as you've asked. That's what I've provided the board with. The SBA continues to have serious and growing concerns about the degrading climate of the South Brunswick School District and the contentious relationship that exists between the association and our superintendent. Over the last 20 months, our organization has had an unprecedented number of conflicts with district leadership. I will highlight several of these most egregious this evening in an effort to show how they have directed our membership. On January 28, 2015, Superintendent Jellick sent an email to the high school staff that expressed his disappointment with SBEA leadership for not agreeing to his terms during negotiations. This was a blatant attempt to have SBA members question their union leadership. He broke the confidentiality by revealing information about those negotiations to SBA members and defiled the collective bargaining process, which requires him to work only with union leadership and the negotiations team. For the board, this is the memo from Dr. Jellick, January 28, 2015. I highlighted the appropriate portions. My disappointment for the children is in two people and entities. First, myself, regarding himself, Dr. Jellick, and second, SBA leadership who weren't able to make the case for this. Later in the following paragraph, he says, and to be clear about what we're discussing and for accounting and equity's sake, he goes into how much money he was willing to offer teachers to take on a 7th assignment. That would basically be similar to during negotiations, me telling Dr. Parker and Mr. Boyle, I'm going to call the other board members at home and see if I can get a better deal with them instead of dealing with you. That's what he did with my members on that day when he sent this email to the entire staff. He also included, lastly, I would tell you that the Board of Education was enthusiastic about this, so disappointment abounds. So now he's telling my members that the Board of Education is also disappointed in my membership. He, in the end, then suggests that we could provide a service that is not easily replicated in the marketplace. He's talking about teaching. Especially by an online solution, which some have suggested, basically telling my membership that they can be replaced by an online solution if they don't agree. This was the first time that our trust was broken. Let's fast forward to October 6, 2015, this time when South Brunswick High School, this is when the high school sets their schedule for extracurriculars. The district charges $25 fee for club participation, but what they have failed to tell the public is that prior to the 2014-15 school year, not all teachers were given stipends for certain clubs. They were considered volunteer. So basically the district was collecting $25 per student and no charge to the district. Now, shortly after this, high school principal Peter Varela informed SBA that 5 clubs would be cut. I provide you the second piece of information I've given you, clubs and stipends from Peter Varela. His words, we will be eliminating 5 clubs this year. Unfortunately, we feel that this decision could have been avoided if there were more positive support from SBA on this topic. The issue at hand involves the decision to pay a number of club advisors half stipends this year. Dr. Jellick and I met with your SBA president last week, and we offered to add $5,000 to the account this year. By adding these funds, it would have allowed us to pay those club advisors who were slated to be paid half stipends, full stipends, and we also offered to add a number of non-contractual clubs. In the following paragraph, he talks again about the terms of this negotiation, where what he wanted in return for this $5,000 is to eliminate the activity rating sheet from the contract, which is the only thing that assures that club stipends are paid to their advisors. So basically, that would eliminate any protection in the contract for club advisors to be paid. That was the deal that was made. But he continues to tell us what he assured us of, which is there would be a 3-person committee that would include the principal, Peter Varela, the activities coordinator, Gina Welsh, and 1 other staff member, not a teacher, another staff member. 2 votes to 1. How do we think those votes would have went if clubs were being cut? Our hope, he continues to say, our hope is that you discuss this proposal with your leadership so that your voices are heard. Students will be very upset when they are told that we had to cut these clubs. and teachers slated to receive half stipends will lose the money they were going to get. So now he's telling us that we're the bad guy, that the students are going to lose out on these clubs because we didn't agree to his terms, and that all of you should come and tell me that I should negotiate. Okay. Shortly thereafter, also in October, 2 SBA members were called to the board office by Dr. Jellick. He lectured them about comments they had made during an SBA meeting. Dr. Jellick had no right to question them. He chose to ignore the laws and that protect association members from retribution while they're performing their union duties. In addition, he wrote a formal reprimand and copied their principal, the assistant superintendent, the human resources director, director of assessment and evaluation, and the director of professional development. Why any of these employees were copied on this email that wasn't a reprimand, in Dr. Jellick's opinion, was sent to all of these people to let them know of the discussion that he had with SBA members doing their SBA jobs. It was a simple intimidation tactic, and that's what it was. The association has filed an unfair labor practice pertaining to this matter, and it will be heard next week, and a resolution will be forthcoming. Our parties, meaning SBA and the Board of Education, have 2 unresolved grievances and 1 unfair labor practice pending in arbitration as well. Later this year, SBA will be heard on these 2 separate grievances involving parent-teacher conferences. It is regrettable at this time that when district spending is already being questioned, that our recent negotiations with the Board of Education fell apart. A ruling in SBA's favor will cost the district in the neighborhood of $140,000 because we couldn't come to terms. Dr. Jellick and the Board of Education have left us no choice, as we could not reach an agreement recently that would have cost the district absolutely nothing based on the proposal that SBA gave. That unfortunately was rejected. Our gravest concern is the perpetration of the negative culture in our schools. This involves serious allegations that go beyond staff morale and lack of trust. In the last 18 months, I've been called into many conversations with female building reps, secretaries, paraprofessionals, and teachers about the considerable discomfort that they have performing their jobs every day. These women have been the recipients of tasteless comments, uncomfortable text messages, intrusions in personal space, and inappropriate advances. They believe there will be no consequences given to their offenders from district leadership. They fear they will be blamed and retaliated against. They feel they must continue to work in an awkward and distressing environment with no relief. They've endured these incidents because they need their jobs. SBA will not stand by while the inappropriate treatment of female employees by their superiors continues. The association is in the process of working with NJA to build a network of support and secure relief for a growing number of our members involved in this type of scenario. The Board of Education ultimately bears the responsibility for monitoring the health of the district. At the last BOE meeting, Mr. St. Vincent speculated about the resignations of Ms. Kirkus and Mr. Tonzini and made the following statement. Are there people that Dr. Jellick rubs elbows with or who don't appreciate the new constraints they're put under? Or maybe he's watching them a little bit more than they had at some point in the past. Maybe he's holding them to a new criteria. Maybe. I don't know. All we can do as a board is monitor what's going on. His comments suggest that Joanne Kirkus and Anthony Tonzini were just getting by under Dr. McCartney, and that Dr. Jellick has some new criteria that they couldn't meet. It's a slap in the face of Anthony Tonzini and Joanne Kirkus. Mr. Nathanson then gave a list of 6 former employees that left the district as an example of how a recent administrative flight is not out of the ordinary. He named Willa Spicer and John Longo, who left in 2003. That was before Dr. McCartney took office. Jeff Scott left in 2006, 3 years later. George Scott left in 2007, John Heyman in 2008, and quite frankly, I couldn't find when Dave Kaplan left because he had just taken over for someone else and was let go. So that was 6 board office employees over the course of 6 years, and I'm not good at math, but that's 1 per year. Now, in the last 18 months, Mr. Tonzini, Ms. Kirkus, Ms. Disler, and John Bruff, 4 employees over 18 months, and all during 1 superintendent's tenure, not 2. Mr. Delgado recognized the severity of this issue and talked about implementing exit interviews and a succession plan. SBA is extremely grateful that at least one board member has recognized the severity of this issue and has expressed concern. Please ask yourself, if these employees are leaving as a result of the culture of the board office, do you want this administration determining your succession plan? Let's talk about why that would be concerning. A committee was created to determine the next professional development director. Has this board ever questioned that committee as to who was recommended for the position, and was that committee's voice heard? Dr. Jelly wrote an email to the district on February 27, 2016. This is the third email that I've provided you with. It's called Personnel Updates 222, Personnel Updates, February 22nd. Mary Beth will head to Black Horse Lane in a couple weeks and begin formally on July 1st. Begin formally on July 1st. I will remind this board that the assistant superintendent position was never posted, nor did any interview take place when Dr. Jelly made this proclamation. He didn't follow the contract of all South Brunswick associations, specifically mine as one example. Article 13, Section C and D. Every teacher who applies for a position, including one on the supervisor or administrative level, who possesses the education, certification, and prior experience requirements for the position, shall be given consideration in the appointment process. He continued in that email to say, I have felt and continue to feel that an internal candidate works best where practical. There are so many relationships to forge and schools to learn. An outsider would take 2 years to get up to speed, and that's not in the best interest of children. How are we going to ever attract external candidates if this is the philosophy of our school, that we are not even going to post or interview for those positions? The breaches of trust, the climate of decay, and the conflicts that have occurred in just 20 short months make it difficult for SBA to work with Dr. Jelly in any meaningful way. It is equally as difficult to understand why the Board of Education continues to offer explanations and excuses on his behalf.